Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Old Hunt, where we are still celebrating 10 years of Bloodborne. Last time, we made our way through the sort of initial section of Cainhurst, well, the initial internal section of Cainhurst Castle. We did the external section of Cainhurst Castle before that, and we ran into quite a number of different outfits for us to change into. And we also ran across a few important items and an important weapon. Well, I think at least one important item and one important weapon. So here we have the Vile Blood Register is the official translation. I think it's a great name. The idea of this is it's like a list of names of the clan, right? The Blood Clan in Japanese, right? If you want to get very literal. But as we go through the description, I think you will see that Vile Blood Register makes sense for what the item actually is. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, so the first set of lines uses sort of a repeated phrase. At least the very first line is repeated a lot. And this is an interesting translation to me because it's somewhat ambiguous. So literally it is Cainhurst's Queen of Blood, right? Cainhurst no chi no jou, right? And so the question is it the Queen of the Cainhurst bloodline? The Queen of the Cainhurst blood? Or is it the Queen of Blood as a concept of Cainhurst? And the official translation sort of seems to go in both directions. And I don't know how intentional that is as a sort of reveal. Because there are items, and I think a trophy. There's at least one item and one trophy in the official translation that does make reference to this idea of a Queen of Blood. And it's a potentially important concept, very important concept for the world of Bloodborne. And Annalise of the Vile Bloods is one, and Queen Yarnum, who we're not going to meet in this playthrough, well, sort of, we're going to meet some version of her, but it's a little unclear what version of her we meet. I've talked about her. She's one of the people that I'm not going to go all the way down into the chalices to meet her. That's what I mean when I don't say we're going to meet her, but she will play a role in the story regardless. She's potentially also identified as a Queen of Blood. So there's this idea potentially floating around out there of Blood Queens, and I think it's cool. I like it. I think it works with the Japanese. The English, I think the concept is there. You have the concept of a Queen of Blood, like I was talking about. You get the references. I think it's the queenly flesh, if I remember correctly. I'll find these relevant items in the English translation and put them on screen so you can see, right? There is a Queen of Blood idea in the official English version, but it's potentially not quite as consistently drilled into you as you get from the Japanese, maybe, but I'm not sure how much that's meant to be like a reveal, like I was saying, because it sort of functions like, oh yeah, she's just the Queen of Cainhurst, the Cainhurst bloodline. And turns out she's as the Queen of the Cainhurst bloodline, she's the Queen of Blood of Cainhurst, and that's its own concept, and it's very important. Anyway, you can see that much I put in translation born. But I figure it's worth mentioning again here. It's potentially a very important concept, this idea of the Queens of Blood, and I like that particular interpretation, so I'm going to proceed as if that is a thing. So I'm going to say, for the opening line here, Cainhurst's Queen of Blood, Annalise, Annalise in the katakana. And that's sort of all part, right? The main idea, right? That's all to set up the background in this case. And the main idea is that we go all the way to the end of the second line and we see that this is a Shinshiroku, right? This is, it's basically a who's who, right? A list of the nobility of the Cainhurst nobles, right? And you can see how this would tie into the idea of a noble bloodline, the bloodline of Cainhurst, right? So maybe that was a potentially confusing factor, right? So, all right, I've given you sort of the beginning and the end, and I haven't really put the two halves together. So let's go ahead and go for the entire phrase if we read the two lines together. A red leather who's who of the Blood Clan members who exchanged a contract with Annalise, Cainhurst's Queen of Blood. Right? That's that whole thing taken all together, as I intend to translate it, right? There's some ambiguity there, but that's what I'm going to give you. Okay, and now we move on to the second section here. All of the clans or the blood clans. I keep saying blood clans, right? Because Ketsuzoku on its own, I think, means clan, but it's specifically, right, the blood clan, right? It's not just any, like, clan of people who've come together as a group. It's a blood clan of Cainhurst, right? They're very, like, again, and this is a record of the nobles who've exchanged some sort of contract, some sort of understanding or vow with Annalise, the queen of Cainhurst. Also Cainhurst, Queen of Blood, as a concept. So you could see why I would be going with the idea of blood clan, even though it's a little bit redundant. But anyway, to get back to the translation here, third line in total, right? First line in the second section. Listed here are all of the names of the blood clan from ancient times. And the fourth line in the central section here, I'm going to say they, because again, it's a sore, right? This is one of the things that comes up again and again and again, right? This is a reference back. It means that. What is being referenced back to? I think this is being referenced back to all of the, like, blood clan members that are listed in here. So they are hunters of blood that seek ritual impurity by hunting prey. Or they are hunters of blood that hunt prey and seek ritual impurity, right? We have this idea of kegare. And remember, we've heard the idea of the Cainhurst blood clan as the impure blood clan, the ritually unclean blood clan, right? Going off this concept of kegare, which we can tie into with the idea of ritual impurity. And that's how we're getting the idea of vile blood, right? But they're specifically after this type of impurity, right? They seem to have this specific version of impurity that they seek from their prey. And they're blood hunters, right? This gets back to, you remember how I was saying we'd see that the Cainhurst hunters are sort of the vampires of Bloodborne? This gets back to that idea because they are hunting specifically for blood, right? It's not that they kill their prey, right? It's not that they just want the, like, blood echoes and the gems and the bloodstones that we're after. They're also after this substance that is, they're calling ritual impurity, if we want to be literal. I think, I can't remember what the official translation does with this, because it's clunky, right? You can't naturally write, right? They seek ritual impurity in hunting their prey, right? Because it's also an item, right? We're going to get an item that's called this. We can't call that item ritual impurity. That's a concept. That's not a thing. It's not a consumable item. So they're sort of between a rock and a hard place. They need this to tie in with that consumable item. They need it to tie in with the idea of the vile bloods, right? They have, like, these competing needs that they're trying to get out of the translation. I can't remember if they do it in this specific one here, but I think they probably do, because this is like an online covenant thing. So they probably call it blood dregs. Blood dregs is the name they came up for the item. It should match what we see in this description, and it does, right? And the idea of blood dregs, remember, they're after blood, and they're after specifically sort of the undesirable part of blood. So if you think of the dregs as, like, the undesirable part, like at the end of a bottle of wine, then the dregs of the blood are sort of this undesirable, potentially impure side of the blood. And I think kegare has a little bit more cultural resonance in Japan than dregs does in Western society. But, like, I don't blame the translators at all. I think that was a good decision. But you know, there is a little bit of that extra concept going on there, and we're going to have to try and pay attention to that. Again, this is a little bit of my blind spot when it comes to analyzing Bloodborne's lore, because I don't quite know what to do with kegare, especially because there's another, like, group in the DLC, a little bit before the DLC, that gets introduced that sort of plays off of something that seems like it should be related to this concept, but maybe it isn't, and maybe it's real, and maybe it's not, and I just don't know what to do with it. Anyway, we're not going to concern ourselves with that other group, because this is 1.00 that we're playing. I'm going to focus on that. And I'm just going to keep my eye on this going forward, see if I can spin out any weird, crazy theories, and maybe satisfy myself to some existing ones. I don't really know. I'm going to try and work it out. We'll see what happens. Anyway, we get the final section here. We have this little symbol that is sort of a notification that this is a note, and in particular, like as soon as you start reading these lines, you'll note that it's not aimed at like an in-world explanation. This is specifically to address the player. So I believe in English they translate that symbol that we're seeing in the second to last line as note. And I like that practice myself, right? There are some translations that I've seen that will just put an asterisk here. I think it's a little bit more culturally acceptable to me as an American English speaker if you just call this out and say note, so that, right, the most important thing is you're conveying to the reader that this is not in-game explanation. This is like a supplementary thing, and you need to know it as a game player. And I think, if whatever is most natural to you, that's the thing that should go there, right? So if you'd prefer an asterisk, or if you prefer the word note, right, like you can pick what you like. In fact, actually, I think they do, right? If I remember correctly, I talked about this in my special on the various English versions of the game, UK English versus North American English, and they use an asterisk, I think, in the Great Britain version, and they use the word note in the North American version. And I'm North American, so go figure. I prefer the word note. Anyway, the actual message here is this item is for online use only. It cannot be used offline. So this is actually, I don't know if I can, I can't even use it. The whole option is grayed out because I'm playing offline. But it's got the option here. If you can use it and you are playing online, it will show you essentially like a leaderboard of the other players who have collected the most blood dregs. So kind of a cool idea. I like that the way, again, that they incorporate these sorts of things into the fiction of Bloodborne, right? So these are all people who've exchanged vows, made some sort of contract with Annalise, the Cainhurst Queen of Blood, and they're now hunting these blood dregs, and this register functions as a way to see how successful they were, while also serving as a list of all the vile bloods, the vile blood associated thing here, right? So I think that's great. Anyway, it's important to get at the idea of the hunters of blood. But the other thing that it's important to get at, I'm looking for weapons here, is the raita-palash, because this gets at an idea that I was hinting towards in the last episode. I think I might have said that it was like tied to a set of clothes. It might still be tied to that set of clothes, but it's right here. The thing that I was briefly alluding to in the previous episode, we're going to get it spelled out by looking at this. So first of all, item name, pure katakana, reiteru parashu. So I want to call it the writer palash because I see English spelling, and that's how I parse that particular phrasing. But if I'm looking at the katakana, reiteru parashu. So yeah, maybe it's the reita palash. Maybe that's better. Like it sounds German to me. I don't know if it is. But maybe that's the better, more accurate to German version. I don't know. I'm sure it means something. Maybe I'll look it up while I'm editing and find the meaning and put that on screen. If it's prohibitively difficult, you'll see nothing here, and I'll laugh at myself in the past. But anyway, one way or another, they decided to leave reiteru parashu as reita palash in English, right? They spelled it essentially transliterating it rather than translating it, which I think was the right call. It's supposed to sound like a foreign weapon name. Anyway, let's get to the description. Okay, weapon used by the Cainhurst Knights. A thing which is a combination of a large knight's sword and their unique gun. Right? So you remember I was talking about how this is sort of the inspiration for the rifle spear. It's a gun or it's a firearm and a sword combined. Right, a firearm and a melee weapon combined, right? And so the powder kegs heard about this, and they created the prototype that is the rifle spear. So I thought that was fun. Again, Cainhurst, the origin of this weapon, this idea. We've got the rifle spear good to go here, and it's, obviously inspired by, but very different from the reita parashu. Okay, if we go to the central section here, so the nobles who have enjoyed blood from the ancient past, from long ago, are therefore neighbors of the illness of blood. And it's interesting that they don't call it the illness of beasts, right? And It's actually kind of interesting because I think it's fairly intuitively obvious to players that the blood is sort of what's causing this bestial transformation, right? What's unique about Yharnam? They have this special healing blood. What's unique about Yharnam? Everyone turns into beasts there, right? It's a little bit more complicated than that, but I do think that like that level of understanding of it is fairly easy to come to an understanding of. But if you actually like try and tie it all together with the lore, right? With the whole fear the old blood thing, like you need the idea that you have to be very careful of the blood. You need the idea that the like boundaries in sort of the level of being sort of break down on Knights of the Hunt, and tying it to the proximity of the moon, and it's got something to do with this inner struggle that you've got with the clerics, right? And so there's this like pressure against your humanity that it's also tied in with like, because another tie that we've seen to like bestial transformation is through the euphoric feeling, right? You can tie in all these things to it and arrive at this picture that, okay, the blood causes you to transform into a beast, right? The blood is a big part of these bestial transformations, it seems. And while that's true, we've always gotten reference to the scourge of beasts when it comes to talking about that sort of thing. So it's interesting to me that they would call this the blood sickness. It could just be more generic, right? It could just be general like illnesses that are associated with blood. They're maybe used to bloodborne illnesses. I don't really think so, because let's keep reading. The disposal of beasts was the secret role of their servants. So for a brief moment before I continued to read on the line, it seemed like, okay, or the second line in the second section there, it seemed like, okay, maybe we're just talking about random bloodborne illnesses. No, I think we're talking about the scourge of beasts, because they're no strangers to the illness of blood, and the disposal of the beasts is handled by the servants. It's one of their secret tasks, secret roles. So interesting, right? It's not calling it the scourge of the beasts, it's calling it like the illness of blood, but it's clearly talking about this beast transformation. And also we've heard that, right, it's a different sort of blood, forbidden blood, that went to the Cainhurst nobles. So clearly it still causes bestial transformation, or at least plays a role in bestial transformation. So that's interesting to think about. Also, I just think it's fascinating, this idea that, and we'll see it in the final line when we get there as well, but the idea that the servants are the ones disposing of the bodies, right? So you have the nobles who are, sitting back, sipping their blood, indulging their taste for it, sort of like the Yharnamites as well. And every now and then, someone goes too far, they lose control, they turn into a beast, and at that point, their servants stand up and they take them out, right? That's sort of the picture that's being painted here. And then, I don't know, the bodies are like discreetly hurried away, and we don't talk about maybe that guy who was just swirling around his noble blood last week. He lost his stomach for it, like he turned into an addict, and he's just not around anymore. And then everybody knows that quietly he turned into a beast and was killed by his servants because he had to be put down. Interesting picture that paints of like Cainhurst society. And again, right, I would think at some point in one of these recent episodes, I was talking about the economy with which Bloodborne can tell its story. It's like a handful of lines. We're going to get one more line. And I think it takes the point even further. It's just, I love that they can do this. All right, so final line. If you get servants used to being called knights, do they at least have honor? Right, it's a question. It's this idea, it ends in like daroka. It's sort of this speculative thing where it's inviting you to ask that question, right? And so right here, we're like paired up with the previous line. We're getting that information that, yeah, it's the servant's job, not the nobles, to dispose of beasts. And they call, therefore, their servants knights. And I just love that twist that puts on everything, especially because it ties in very well with the idea of knights and samurai, right? Knights are supposed to be loyal. They're supposed to be like pledge their service to a lord and serve them. Knights are supposed to be servants. Samurai, like it comes from, I think the really old reading is haberu or something. And it's a verb that means to serve, right? So the samurai, right? The whole thing is about loyalty and acting as servants. And of course, we know historically they might have been serving like a king, right? They might have been serving like in a feudal system. There might have been people above them, but they were essentially the people who were running the show, right? They were the people who were ruling things because they were the people in power. And that's as true as the knights as it is of the samurai. And it's interesting to think about this idea of calling servants knights in this sort of presentation of honor that may or may not be true, and especially when you sort of contrast that with the real world. And it's just this one little line, this one little question that has major implications for Cainhurst society. And I love how Bloodborne is able to present you with just this brief bit of information and at the same time, like, paint with a very broad stroke. So anyway, that's probably way more than enough time staying here in the dream and just reading items. So we've got a little bit more exploration of Cainhurst to do, which of course is a location hidden away from the rest of the world. We're not going to go to the abandoned old workshop. We're going to go to the abandoned castle Cainhurst, and I'll see you. We're going to take that elevator back up. Right. Picking up where we left off. Going to go back to the next room with many ghosts. Interesting how there's like a different style of this sort of elevator wall, because I think Yharnam has the horizontal one, and this one is vertical. And of course, the rest of Cainhurst, like, very intricate, very fancy, very impressive. And by this point, no, okay, the lantern went off. Gotta put the portable lantern back on. And here we are. Have they all turned against me? I was gonna say, like, for sure at this point, they've all turned against me. Oh, there he is. That particular servant shoots that dart and makes these ghosts really turn against you. Oh good, she was too far away, and my giant long-range stab got through. Okay. I'm just gonna break through these chairs, create some room. But having dealt with that situation, can now get back to dealing with all these ghosts who are no longer, like, specifically seeking me out through the strange brand that I bear. Thanks to some dart a knight happened to shoot at me. Oh, I ran out of stamina. I was like, why didn't I roll away? I ran out of stamina. Easy enough as an explanation. Aw. I thought the continued horizontal strike would be enough to keep her at bay. Well, they're sort of lining up. I wonder... that did not work the way that I expected. In fact, it was probably worse for me that they were lined up like that. Well, that's how you find out. Ooh, okay. I have to target the one in front. That's how... Yeah, that's how it works. Not the one in the back. That was my mistake. Okay, is there another... Thought I heard another servant. This... Oh, I was going to say, she's like making good use of her ghostly form by phasing through the stairs, but no, she's just stuck. Can I lock on? I thought maybe I can't. Alright, well, I can aim. Not very well. I can strike. Still can't lock on. Something weird is going on with that staircase. Nope. Alright, wide strikes. There we go. Problem solved. I'm hearing more screams. Okay, I'm not seeing anyone, though. Alright, that's a staircase to nowhere. This is a staircase to somewhere, though. Here we go. Got this treasure chest right here. And here we have Evelyn. Another important item. Much more important for my other character build than for this one. Oh, I've got almost no HP. I don't know why I bothered. Oh, okay. Alright. I can't dodge as quickly after that running strike as I think I can. No, I tried to target the one that was going to be in front, but I totally misjudged the one that was going to be in front. It's okay. Okay, so that's about when I can start dodging from that. Uh-oh. Out of stamina. I gotta do a better job. There's no reason for me to be having this much trouble at this point. Oh, I got a backstab. Backstab a ghost. Also, note that when I did that backstab, right, a lot of the time when you get the visceral attacks, blood will fly out everywhere, and instead you got that weird, like, ethereal mist type spray. I am not, again, I'm not a person for visual details. Some people make a lot of that out of that visual detail. It's definitely true, right? There's definitely a distinction you can make between those enemies that have blood and those enemies that are more like ectoplasm. But, and here's some of it on the floor, even, as well as some blood. Can we see it? Yeah, there it is. Just got to go at a slightly different angle, right? So we have ectoplasm and we have blood. And some people make a lot out of that. I mean, we killed all those ghosts. We got blood echoes from it. So, I don't know. Maybe the idea is that they have a different type of blood and they're a different sort of being as a result. I don't know. You can tell I'm not super well informed on that particular interpretation of Bloodborne. But you can take from that information some extrapolations based on which enemies do or don't bleed red as opposed to, like, mist. I have to get a backstab on this thing. Ooh, yeah, that's nice. So long, knight. Yeah, give me blood vials. I need them. I need them. Clearly this, you know, these two lions rampant back to back here on that red field, the symbol of Cainhurst. Uh-oh. I see you. I see you. Uh-oh. I can't lock on. The staircase has foiled me again. The staircase has foiled me again. And there's two knights. That's the other reason. Oh, right. I forgot. There's a dart thrower. I need to go a different way, I think. That's the other reason I like the, like, bit of lore that you get that says, tells you about the knights. Because, ha, now I can charge. Free from darts. I like being able to rush in from range. That's a nice thing. Yeah, the other, if I can actually finish a thought, the other nice thing about having these knights... Yeah, parry that, buddy. They can, when they take that stance, they can, like, parry your attack, and it's very annoying. Uh-oh. I attracted another dart throw. How are you hitting me? Oh, they can also strike from range. Not that it'll save them. Alright, maybe now I can finish the thought that I had, which was the other fun thing about learning that the servants are called knights is it makes sense of these enemies, right? They're, like, clearly acting as servants, like, cleaning up around the place, but some of them will attack you with blowguns, and some of them will attack you with, I should have known. Some of them will attack you with these rapiers, possibly versions of the Reiterpallasch. Reiterpallasch. I don't know. Still don't know how to pronounce it. Alright, you're done. Okay, now I think it's just the dart blowers. Oh, man. Surprisingly fast attacks out of that cane that they have. Guess it is smaller than particularly this transformed version. If If I transform it back... There we go. Bloodstone chunk. Absolutely crucial treasure right there. Gotta get those to upgrade my weapons even further. I keep thinking I see... Oh, because I am seeing an item dropped over here. And back up to 20 blood vials. That's not bad. Of course, I started with 23, but still. Alright, now there's at least 2 dart blowers in this area. Oh, yes. Okay, boring as the continued stab is, its speed is very nice. Very good for dealing with these particular enemies. I think there's one more somewhere. And I don't want it to be alive, because it has annoyed me. Here we go. Oh, the one I can't lock onto. Right. Can still fight, though. I will not let you triumph. Good. If you had dropped something, I don't know if I could get it. Okay. And this has always seemed kind of weird to me. When I first found out about this path, I thought it was the coolest thing ever. But then I realized, like, this is the main path. You're supposed to go this way as you're maneuvering around Cainhurst Castle. And that just made it a lot less interesting to me. I liked the idea that I'd found a secret, and it was like, no. You're supposed to find this one. This is the main way to go. Alright, this is a little dangerous, but come out this way. Come out this way. And if you look over there, those things that, like, are trying to get me, those are the gargoyles where, they were, like, off to one side. There were 2 of them sort of set up, waiting over there. Okay, I can work with this. Oh, this is the one where one of them flies in. Okay. You gonna drop anything for me? No. Okay. Oops, I should have done the... Well, oh well. That works. So long, gargoyle. Drop anything for me? I can't tell, there's too much light. Okay, now in there is a bad time. Over there is forward. Oh boy. Alright, here we go. But the other important thing about coming in here is that I don't think we got to see it in the other room. This room will definitely get to see it. Some of those ghosts have their heads torn off, and they're holding them in their hands. And if their screams get you, you're in serious trouble. Because it will rob you of all motion. And it will allow the normally sort of slow-moving ghosts like this one an opportunity. There we go. Now I can't move. Right? The headless scream, which shoots all that blood from their throat, prevents movement. And that's incredibly annoying when you've got enemies that can actually fight you around. But now that it's just these things... That was a good image of that. I've never seen, like, gotten such a good look at that screaming face before. Nice. Okay, Dart Blower, you are incredibly annoying. So I'm gonna hit you with my very annoying attack in return. How about that? How about that? Oh, finally. Oh, there's still one more of these. Okay, and there is an enemy nearby that can attack me as normal. So let's draw that one away. Maybe. Attack through the chair. Yeah, attack through the chair. One more. Oh, no. That is a sturdy... Well, I could not attack through the chair, but I could run through the chair. So go figure. Okay. Now I think I want speed. There we go. Prevent that from locking me up too severely. Right. Still hearing... I could have gotten the backstab on that one if I'd been thinking. Oh well. I see you. Yep. I should have started striking. I was too late. There we are. Okay, none of the enemies have dropped anything. That's important to know. Hello there. Alright. Now it's just you and me. I can deal with you in 2 charged attacks. There we are. Okay, that takes care of all of them. Very good. And I believe over here we're going to get a very important item. Nope, never mind. I'm wrong. I thought the executioner's gloves were in there. Instead, we have a very important set of clothing. The knight's set. Maybe the executioner's gloves are over here. I thought they were in this room. What do we have in treasure chest number 2? There they are. The executioner's gloves. Okay. I don't know if I'll get to those right away. I don't know why I'm rolling constantly like this. But they're definitely going to be crucial in this playthrough going forward, because I've been boosting my arcane, and boy, do those things work when you've been boosting your arcane. That little window is the correct way to go, by the way, but I have to come over here first, because we got this item, and we've got this gargoyle. It's so good at blending in. Let's try a Molotov cocktail. Ah, I wasn't sure if I could throw up that far, because I'm used to, like, the regular path of those weapons. Oh, I forgot. Okay, it was already transformed. He might get me, but I don't know. It's just standing there. Which, you don't need to blend in anymore, buddy. Anyway. Also, isn't this beautiful? Love the look you get over this lake. All the shining water. It's very cool. Then over here. I don't actually know where all of this is in terms of, like, the world construction. One of these directions we saw on that bridge that we were out on, leads back to Hemwick Charnel Lane, and you could sort of see Yarnum in the distance. But I don't know what the actual surrounds of this castle are. Okay, here we go. This is the other crucial shortcut in Cainhurst. Which one is it? None of them? It was none of them. This bookcase comes back, and I was, like, when I first played this game, I pulled that lever, this bookcase moved back, and I was like, oh, so now I can go straight from the elevator over to here. And then I had no idea how to go forward for, like, a really, really long time, because in addition to being a shortcut, this also unlocks a ladder, and that ladder is further progress through Cainhurst. We're not going to go up it, though. This episode has gone on, I would say, a pretty decent length. We have a pretty decent amount of blood echoes, so I think it's time we made use of the shortcut that we just opened and head back to the dream, maybe grab a level, and as usual, I will start next time with some item description reading. We can take a look at those executioner's gloves, maybe. But I think before that, I'll do a little bit of leveling up and maintenance on the character, and I'll see you in the dream for that. Right, back in the dream.
Welcome.
Let's see, I think we're still in the range where we might be able to get. No, only 1 level. I was thinking maybe 2, but only 1. That's okay. I think, like I said, there's another weapon that I could use if I get my strength to 20. I was debating on whether or not I would wait until I get to the chalices to do it, but I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm just going to go straight for it. There we go.
Farewell, good mate.
1 more level and we'll be in good shape there. Alright, how are we doing on weapons here? Easy to repair, of course. I don't think we've obtained any significant blood gems. Should maybe start thinking about upgrading my saw spear for chalice dungeoneering, but I'm not going to do that just yet. I'll absolutely take those blood vials. I don't feel... Well, I'd only be buying 1. I can take 1 more bullet. Especially since we got those executioner's gloves, and they're powered by bullets, so... Maybe I won't be constantly at the bullet maximum for a little while anymore. Anyway, this has been, I think, a pretty productive episode. We spent, I don't know, maybe half of it doing some lore stuff, and then another half running around Cainhurst. We've unlocked sort of the final layer of Cainhurst, which is going to be very fun to explore next time. But for now, I'm going to call an end to my hunt for the evening, and as always, I wish all of you good hunting. Oh, come on now. Come on now. Good hunting, everyone.